Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. My wife Renuka can't stand the taste or the smell of milk. Yogurt, though, she's fine with. And that's lucky because yogurt does something remarkable for your gut. It's protein, and every spoonful delivers somewhere around 350 to 400 million individual probiotic organisms. That number sounds impressive until you find that a single tablespoon of kefir carries 1.5 to 2 billion of those same life cultures. Kefir isn't just better than yogurt, it's in a different league entirely. So obviously, kefir is a clear winner. Except Renuka won't touch the stuff. Kefir can be intensely sour, and to her, it's almost as yucky as milk itself. This realization feels like a dead end. But is it? What if she got 1% better every day? And what would that even mean? I don't know where you live in the world, but here in New Zealand, people wear t-shirts that says they want to be 1% better every day. But what does it mean? It means that you're going to be uncomfortable every single day. It means that you have to change what you're doing, because if you haven't changed anything at all, you haven't improved. Improved might even be the wrong word, because a 1% change doesn't really feel like improvement. Most of the time, when you're saying, oh, I want to improve by 1%, what you need is almost a feeling of regression, like you're going backwards all the time. Take the illustrations that I do almost every day. When I flip the page and start off with a new sketch, I could easily do what I had done before. I could use the same styles, same fonts, even the same layout. And that's logical, because to do what you've already done speeds things up. But let's say the goal is to be at least 1% uncomfortable. It means that I now have to go hunting on Pinterest for a different kind of font, maybe a different kind of layout. Often enough, I will change the entire style of drawing and copy somebody else's style. It's possible that all of these three elements might change on a single new page, and the results, they aren't always joyful. Sometimes I will end up delighted, and at other times it looks like a mess. And I find the same chaotic environment entering another one of my hobbies, which happens to be cooking. If you make a dish every day and it turns out excellent, why would you bother adding more tamarind? Why change the type of chili? Why throw in yogurt if you've never used it before? If 1% doesn't feel like going forward, why bother with the 1% anyway? It's easy to assume that 1% growth every day adds up to 365% growth over a year. That 365 bit, it seems linear, but that's not how it works. When you compound 1% every day, you end up roughly 38 times better by the end of the year. Not 38%, but 38 times better. All of that discomfort just to improve by 38 times, that sounds like a bad deal. However, if you were to continue to live with that level of discomfort for about 5 years, suddenly that number stops being a number. It becomes a figure so large that it's almost meaningless. Suddenly, you are millions of times better. It's almost trying to picture a billion kefir cultures in a single spoonful. Of course, nobody can actually measure this improvement in real life. If you're learning photography, how do you measure a 1% gain or a 5% gain? You can't, but how would you even know? What we do tend to notice is how much faster and more confident we get once we keep at it. Once we keep going into that discomfort zone, we start to improve. We go backwards, but then somehow, weirdly, we go forwards. This improvement doesn't look like improvement at all when you move in from day to day. It accumulates and only becomes apparent when you look at it in hindsight. And worse still, that 1% change is likely to be quite random. Last night, Renuka and I went to the nearby mall. By around 8 p.m., it's fairly deserted, even though it's quite secure. We took one walk around, then another, and soon we had finished 7 rounds of walking. On any given day, we'll do between 10,000 to 12,000 steps. And now we're done 18,000. Is 18,000 good for us? We don't know. But the point is that there's a huge amount of discomfort. We have to get up from the sofa, go to the mall, walk around 6, 7, 8 times. We could do nothing instead. And sometimes it's better to do nothing. But if you really want to improve, then 1% is not so much improvement as it is a form of regression. We all love the idea of improvement, and 1% seems doable, but it almost always never feels like progress. It almost always feels like work. It almost always feels like regression. Discomfort is kind of the default. And that's what 1% improvement really means. It's not something that you wear on a t-shirt or you hang on a poster. It's something live, almost the way it is in a spoonful of kefir, creepily growing and multiplying until one day it's billions. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. Oh, that was very uncomfortable. Why? Because this is the first podcast that I've recorded since March, and now it's July, which is to say that I'd recorded a lot of them in advance because we were going on holiday to Greece. But now there's that discomfort factor of starting again. Anyway, we'll get back with some longer podcast. I'll say bye for now. Bye-bye. Still listening? Well, how would Renuka add those billions of probiotic cultures in her yogurt? Yeah, that's exactly it. She has a bowl full of yogurt and she just puts 1/2 teaspoon, maybe 1 teaspoon, and tries it out. That's how. 1%. A little change that makes a big difference over time.